At only 18 years old, Yunchan Lim became the youngest winner of the Van Cliburn competition. The previous title holder of youngest winner was Alexei Sultanov in 1989, coming in at 19. Age aside, what made Yunchan stand out among the rest of his competitors? Was it his technique, repertoire selection, his teacher? In order to figure out why Yunchan was able to make such a historic run at the Van Cliburn competition, it's important to understand where it all began. Grab a snack, your favorite score to lean on, because Yunchan might play it one day and you'll enter a massive depression. Oh, and your favorite drink, because this will be quite the ride. Yunchan's journey began by enrolling at a piano academy at the age of 7. Not long after studying the piano, he watched an advertisement for the Music Talent Academy at the Seoul Arts Center, where he convinced his parents to audition. Although he passed, teachers at the academy made persistent statements regarding his lack of a solid foundation. Despite being compared to other students at the academy who were leagues beyond him, Yunchan kept studying his improvements and began to nurture his talent. It wasn't until 2018 that he made his presence known internationally. He took second prize at the Cleveland International Piano Competition for Young Artists. A year after that, he also took first prize at the Isangun competition, giving him even more national attention. Fast forward a few years later, and his eyes were set on the Van Cliburn competition. Yunchan came into the event bringing pieces that would best showcase his ability as a pianist. As one should, right? Well, it appears that some pianists participating chose pieces that favored certain composers or a specific playstyle. Look at Masaya Kame, for example, a 20-year-old pianist from Japan who made it to the semifinals. Many people, including myself, Masa, if you see this for some reason, I love you, man, believe that he was deserving of a finals run. Although he played works such as La Campanella, Islami, La Gaspard de la Nuit, pieces like this are considered flashy to pianists and quite possibly the jury. Would a repertoire choice like this lead the jury to choose Yunchan, who instead chose a very unique program within every round? Pause. I'm editing this late at night and I don't even know what I just said, but we're gonna roll with it. Continue. Regardless of the repertoire selection, Yunchan played with such masterful technique throughout each round that his mind had to only focus on the expression of the pieces that he chose. Take the two following passages for example. Passages like these, with very contrasting techniques such as light yet highly articulated finger action and carrying overtones with pedal work, are a clear indication to his abilities as a pianist. Yunchan focused on the tonal production needed to make each of the composers sound like how they were intended to be. Mozart like Mozart, Chopin like Chopin, etc. His standout performances of the Beethoven Eroica variations, Mozart Piano Concerto, and Liszt Transcendental Etudes are what I believe a large reason on why he advanced. Don't take it from me, but also Alessio Bax, a member of the jury.
Liszt Transcendental Etudes, for example, I don't know anybody in that age. And on top of that, he's only 18, so there's great potential for growth. It was really a privilege to hear him play.
Mr. Bax mentions that someone being able to play all of the Liszt etudes at the age of 18 was something he never knew of. It was a real attention getter. A bold decision by Yunchan, but an incredibly unique interpretation, done with out-of-this-world control and lyricism. Look at Bruce Liu in the 2020 Chopin competition. Could one argue that his decision to play the Chopin variations in B-flat major is what made him advance to the finals? No one else had chosen to perform this piece in the competition, right? And he did it magnificently. There are decisions made by the performer which ultimately lead them to advancing after being compared to another competitor. How adventurous was the piece and how well was it executed? I personally believe that it is the unique consistency in tonal production, distinct repertoire selection, and commanding stage presence that ultimately crown a winner. But hey, if my opinions haven't mattered to you yet, I'd like to introduce a special guest. Meet Sarah Tuan. Sarah was selected to participate at the 18th International Chopin Piano Competition in Warsaw last fall. She has also participated in masterclasses given by pianists such as Gary Grafman, Dong Tai Sun, Ruth Slenjinska, and Garrick Olson. She has performed in the US, Germany, Italy, Denmark, and Poland. The winner of the Philadelphia International Piano Competition, Los Angeles International Liszt Competition, Virginia Waring International Piano Competition in Palm Desert, California, and San Jose International Piano Competition. Sarah, you've competed at a large competition such as the Chopin last year. What is it like being in the practice rooms, performing, your mindset, etc.? And also, what can you say on behalf of the competitors who attended the Cliburn and just experienced all of this within the past few weeks?
Yeah, I think the first word I would use to describe like a competition experience in general would be stressful, both in a good way and a bad way. Obviously, there's, the pressure of having to manage so much repertoire in such a short time, but it's also a really rewarding experience. For myself, I felt like I've grown every time I've been to a competition, and not just as a pianist, but also as a person in general. I feel like I've been able to organize my thoughts better, collect my emotions, and also just plan all my workout in a more efficient way. I can definitely feel that people who go to competitions, of course, everyone wants to maybe get a good result. People like myself, I don't necessarily go there thinking that I'm going to get the prize or something, but it's always just very important to have that mindset of doing it all just for yourself and yourself only, not for anyone else.
Wow. So almost kind of like you're developing your character or just you're improving
Yeah,
yourself.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And then how do you define a complete pianist?
So I think, of course, the complete pianist is not only someone who is, technically good at the piano, or knowledgeable in music and different, areas of art, such as like visual art or like history or anything like that. But I think most importantly, to be a complete pianist and also a complete artist is to have good character. Because I truly believe that if you don't have good character or like a strong set of your own values, you cannot produce good art. Because I really believe that all this music that was written, they all have their own stories, their own values behind them. So if you don't have that within you, no matter how good you are at like executing these pieces or performing on stage, it's just not going to speak to people the way that the music was intended to.
You can't just, I think, as a jury member, be only focused on the performer and what's going on only in the performance, but they're also looking at the person outside of the performance too.
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
And their personality. And then kind of going off on that, what pianistic qualities did you see in Yunchan's playing, which kind of won the crowd over round after round?
Just ignoring the fact that he's like an amazing pianist, I think there was this quality in him that was so attractive, which was this sort of like young confidence where like he was just not afraid to just be himself on stage and just, really command the stage. And also, I think personally, I felt that, especially with him being quite young and also very experienced as well, like, there was this sort of charm he had on stage, which is very attractive to the audience. Just very authentic. He wasn't going up there, at least I don't think he was going up there with the mindset of wanting to win or impress, but really just presenting all the hard work and dedication he put into his craft. And I think that truly won over everyone, especially in his final concerto performance. That was the highlight of his entire competition.
Yeah. It definitely was. I mean, I was kind of afraid to make a statement when he was giving off his performances beforehand. And then I see that, I'm like, there is just no way. Every single pianist there was very deserving of playing because they are all amazing and they all have their own unique sound. But this was just something that, like, I think every pianist is just so in awe of hearing and being able to witness. It's, at least for me, it almost felt like a once in a lifetime moment. And I wasn't even there. Yeah. So lastly, Horowitz famously said that he was absolutely against competitions. Now, having competed many times yourself, what are your thoughts on them as a whole in the classical music space?
Well, I personally don't love competitions either, since time goes on and times change. The development now is that competitions are sort of the best way to get exposure, like kickstart your career. And I think if people go to competitions with that mindset, then I think it's totally fine. But I don't like when competitions become sort of a person's like personal goal to like beat certain people, or when it gets, controversially like political. Yeah, that sort of, I think, is what Horowitz is getting at, this corruption of music. But as I said earlier, if you treat it as something more personal, I think it's totally fine to go for these and set your own goals.
Right. Yeah. It's like it's your mindset going in. So many people have their opinions and their perspectives on it, but I think that's definitely the most beneficial way of thinking, especially if you're somebody who's going into one. And yeah, the exposure. That's a great way for a pianist to get their name out. And, you know, if they only need to do 3 or 4 competitions, then that's what they do. And if they've got their name out there and a career that's starting to roll, then that's what they needed to do. So thank you so much, Sarah, for doing this interview. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Now, if we could just talk about the Piano Concerto one more time, I promise this is the last time. There was not enough I was willing to say at the time of my reaction because I just wanted to enjoy every single moment of his performance. Upon looking back, I now realize that every single moment coming from the cadenza all the way to the end was just thrilling. Take a moment to listen to 2 of some of my favorite passages in this concerto. It really felt like other pianists were working in a 2D environment while he was in 3D. I don't know if any of that just made sense, but it's like Yunchan was able to create a space while everybody else was working in their own given space. Maybe that's better? Well, I mean, the desk analysts were also struggling to find words to describe the performance that he gave.
We start from a different place with Yunchan Lim.
Transcends that whole conversation. I mean, I can barely speak. I was moved to tears. I was laughing. I mean, some of the stuff he was doing was just stratospheric. It's like he's a magician. He can just conjure whatever he wants.
At the end of the day, it's very clear why he was able to secure that victory. The emotion that he shows on stage alongside his movements are genuine. They have real intention with his performance. From the light and delicate moments to the required loud bangs are just some moments of his clear indication on what he wants with his performance. I can understand people's criticism towards competitions, but in this case, it was nice to see the jury choose a very clear winner, and I hope to see the same integrity with the Van Cliburn Jr. competition coming up next year. If you made it this far into the video, you probably have a very strong opinion on the results of the Van Cliburn competition. I'd love to hear them down below. Please be sure to leave a like while you're at it, and thank you so much for watching. Bye, everyone. You guys thought the video was over. Only 2.1% of you guys are subscribed. It would mean the world to me if you could just hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. All right, thank you, bye.